Yeah, good evening, all of you. Saul admin
Good evening,
is
sir.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir, you're downloading.
yeah. Welcome to the virtual lab webinar on physical medicine. And this is the first time that this virtual lab is going online. To brief regarding this development process which has happened, this was developed under the course of AM477, that is open source virtual instrumentation at NITK Surathkal. And the team consisted of Rohit, Arjit, Sachin, Vikasha, Arjun, and the mentors being Aishwarya and Hegde and Aishwarya Shetty. The virtual lab at NITK has been headed by Professor Gangadharan, who is the head of Center for System Design, wherein which all these labs have been coordinated. I request Professor Gangadharan to speak a few words about virtual lab, how it started, how many years it would, and we are in the stage 4 of it, and how it is going on, and move forward in the lockdown time. Over to you, Professor.
Yeah, very pleasant good evening to everyone. Hope I am audible. I need to share the screen. I'll just give you the one screen so that I should be able to give you a brief of what is virtual lab. So I hope you are able to see the virtual lab screen.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure those who have
Yes,
just joined, kindly keep your uh, share audio mute, the mic mute, as well as the video can be muted, so that you'll have a better audio input coming in. So the virtual lab was started in 2010. NADK, along with other 11 institutions, made the virtual lab possible. You can see on the screen now the institutions which are involved in virtual lab. Uh, so you can see among the NIT system, NIT groups, we have NITK, whereas IIT, there are 7 IITs, and Amrita, Dayal Bagh, COEP, Pune, and IIT Hyderabad. So around 100 and odd labs are ready. From 2010 onwards, it was on deployment, whereas presently, during the COVID lockdown, we found an opportunity here, because when all of us are locked down at home at your respective places, this become a nice way of doing an experiential learning. So we found many universities using virtual lab as a part of their laboratory, as part of their courses in virtual lab. One very specific thing about NITK virtual lab is the entire virtual lab is created by students. So this is by students, for students, and that was one major achievement for the team virtual lab from NITK, which we call SOLVE. And we also have created, the team has created Lekupada, which will explain your experiments in a very simple term, 120 to 120 seconds, simple terms, how to do the experiment. And there are 3 types of virtual lab which is created. One is purely simulation based, other one based on the experiments which is conducted, data collected and provided to the students, so that when the students click on the experiment, they feel they are doing the actual experiment. The third variety of experiment is remote triggered experiment. So these are the 3 modes. And we would like you to use the virtual lab as a part of your course. You need to locate the courses. And today we are going to demonstrate the metallurgy lab, which is created as a part of the course which Dr. Prithviraj was running. So with this brief introduction, I will hand it over back to Prithviraj to continue the activity. Thank you, Prithviraj. Prithviraj, you can go ahead, or you can hand it over to the next person.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. Welcome back, and now this session will be handed by Ms. Aishwarya Shetty, who was the mentor for this lab. She'll walk through how this lab was developed and how this physical metallurgy has been introduced. Over to Aishwarya.
Thank you, sir, for this deep introduction about virtual lab. So I'll now be briefing about what exactly is this virtual lab, what are the phases in this virtual lab, and then moving to physical metallurgy lab. I hope I'll be presenting the screen now. I hope my presentation is visible to everyone. Yeah. So I'll move on. So Virtual Lab is an MHRD funded project under National Mission on Education through ICT. So under ICT, we have several initiatives like SWAYAM, Swayamprabha, Virtual Lab, eYantra, FOSSEE, and so on. So Virtual Lab is one among such initiatives which was developed by MHRD. Moving forward to the motivation, why did we develop, why MHRD developed this Virtual Lab? First thing is, presently we have multiple engineering colleges coming up, but then we have so many graduates. But do you think whether all these graduates are meeting the industry standards, whether the quality of education is meeting their standards? Well, no. So one of the problem would be certain colleges would be in a remote area where all the facilities wouldn't be available to meet the industry standards. But certain colleges have now joined hands with these industries and started research centers in their colleges. But then Some colleges have newly developed, but then all the equipment wouldn't be established in their colleges. So graduates coming out from these three different universities wouldn't have the quality, like equal quality of knowledge among themselves. So in order to develop this equality in knowledge and quality, MHRD developed this wonderful mission called Virtual Labs. Moving forward, with the basic idea of this virtual lab, you just need an internet facility to access these labs. There can be multiple users like remote user 1, 2, and so on. Like I can use the experiment here, my friend can access the same experiment what I'm using. Well, this is a very good opportunity since there is no login, no credentials, and it's totally free. You just need an internet access to use these labs. Moving forward with the features of this lab. So these labs work with 3P labs. That is nothing but a person can work in a phase, place, and period. Place is nothing but I can work in my hostel or in my college or at home. There won't be any trouble in working anywhere. And I can work at any time I need. I can work in the early morning or late at night. Like in your conventional labs, you would have certain restrictions like you need to work from 9 to 5 or so on. But then these labs will be available for you 24/7. And these labs also develop self-learning mode, innovative experimentations, and so on. And also you can access these labs through your cell phones, tablets, and laptops too. The main objective of this virtual lab is to provide remote access to labs, and these labs are uh, and to cater the students at UG level, PG level, as well as research scholars. So any of these three levels of students can use this. And also it develops their own pace and arouses their curiosity. And it also provides a complete learning management system that includes web resources, video lectures, animated demonstration, and self-evaluation. What is the self-evaluation? Self-evaluation is nothing but a set of questions where students need to analyze his knowledge before he performs a simulation. So it is just a set of questions to analyze his knowledge. As Professor Gangadhar already told about uh, three types of virtual lab, that is modeling based, measurement based, and remote triggered. So I would move forward with my next slide, that is nothing but how virtual lab is different from physical labs. Like when you come to cost factor, there is absolutely nil. That is nothing but you don't have to pay to use these labs. Availability, it is designed for 24/7 of usage. Experimentation provides wider and safer option for innovative experimentation. User experience stands second best since we are not exactly representing the physical conventional labs. So these are the participating institutes, which already Sir has explained. Moving on to broad areas, all our engineering fields are virtualized in a virtual lab. So NITK, under NIT Virtual Lab, Center for System Design is handling this virtual lab. So Center for System Design is a transdisciplinary center for R&D. So other projects on this is data acquisition, iris, 3D printing, laser cutting. This unit has also supported healthcare and government during this COVID-19. And this this unit is headed by Dr. K.V. Gangadharan sir, Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, and one of the coordinator of this is Dr. Prithviraj Umesh, who is an assistant professor in Department of Applied Mechanics and the faculties and research college. So I would like to say that in this pandemic situation, virtual lab would be one such platform where students can use and understand the labs. Since you can't approach your conventional labs, well, labs will be mandatory for all. You can't skip that part. So this would be a wonderful opportunity. So we all saw that development part of virtual lab. So virtual lab has two phases. One is development and one was outreach. Under these 11 participating institutes, we have 865 nodal centers. These nodal centers are nothing but private colleges and science colleges under these participating institutes. So they work on workshops and other activities. Under virtual lab NITK, we have 92 nodal centers, and labs under this is mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, agriculture and materials engineering, mining engineering. Metallurgy and mining are the labs under development right now. You can also get the updates using Facebook ID, that is csd.nitk, or our Instagram ID, csd_nitk. Now, I would like to give a brief on how this development is done. I hope my screen is visible to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
visible.
to carry on, thank you, sir. So already Professor Stani sir has already explained about broad areas, objectives of this virtual lab. But then today we had a session on physical metallurgy lab. So physical metallurgy lab is under development lab, which comes under new lab development. So VLabs Dev is a portal handled by IITB. So before going to the central portal where the labs are hosted, you need to follow a set of procedure. That is, once your labs are developed, you need to send it to IITB where they'll keep the labs under development. They'll have set of reviews. They'll give us the comments reviews by IITB professors, and then once the lab is approved, then only it goes to the central portal. So now we have these labs under development labs. So under development, we have certain labs developed by various institutes. One among such lab would be physical metallurgy lab. From here, I would like Itisha to take forward my session. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening to everyone present here. I'm Itisha VA, a third year BTech student from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, Surathkal. I hope all of you can see my tab. Can you see this tab here now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So I would like to first thank Aishwarya ma'am for giving us an overview of what virtual labs is. Now let's dwell into the physical metallurgy VLabs. Before we start off, I would like to ask one very important question. What is physical metallurgy? Can one of you answer it for me? Just mute and unmute. Answer.
Yeah. Physical metallurgy is basically the main branch of metallurgy that deals with the physical properties of materials, and it also gives a fundamental of like the basic stuff like phase transformation of metals and alloys.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Basically, physical metallurgy focuses on the relationship between composition, processing, crystal structure, microstructure of materials, and relates it with their physical as well as mechanical properties. So we are going to handle 3 experiments today. And the first experiment here is microstructural analysis of stainless steel. We all know that stainless steel is a very versatile metal that we see in hundreds of applications in our daily lives. Stainless steel's strength, resistance, corrosion resistance, and low maintenance, along with 100% recyclability, is what makes it such a versatile tool. Can one of you answer me why surgical instruments are made of stainless steels? Why not any other mild steel or anything like a medium carbon steel? Why do we prefer stainless steel?
Don't corrode.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It is corrosion free. But how do we know it's corrosion free? It has in its name only that it is stainless. But how are we sure that it is in such a way? That we can find out only by conducting microstructural analysis, by knowing its composition and how its microstructure is. So as you can see in my tab right now, there is theory, which is our next step, in which we have given an introduction of what microstructure is, what stainless steel is along with its composition, and the different types of stainless steel, the austenitic, martensitic, ferritic, and duplex kinds. There's an image of the optical microscope setup, which is the most important part of the experiment because we are going to conduct the microstructural analysis by viewing the specimen under this microscope setup. Stainless steel is an iron and carbon alloy with at least 10.5% chromium content. And this chromium content is what is going to ensure that it is stainless, that is corrosion free. The next part is the pretest. the pre-test and post-test questions have been made. Around 10 questions have been given so that the students who are accessing this get an in-depth understanding of what they're dealing with. So please do attempt these questions and enhance your understanding. Moving on to the procedure. This procedure is not to be confused with what you're going to perform in an actual lab. This is a procedure meant to be understood in terms of the simulation that we have given in the next step. These procedure steps will be followed on the simulator. I'll give you an example by reading out one or two here. Once the experiment is opened, click on the description. The description part is highlighted here to understand the terminologies that are related to the experiment. There will be one or two terminologies given, which will guide you to the experiment. Click on the next to proceed to the next tab. Here the arrow is highlighted that we have to click to move on to the next setup. I hope you guys understood what this is meant for. Moving on to the simulation now, which is the most important step of virtual labs. The objective, as I said, is what we aim to achieve. Apparatus used is metallurgical microscope. This is the line diagram of our metallurgical microscope. Polishing machine with abrasives, belt grinder, abrasive paper, flat glass plate with wooden framework. All these are the polishing equipment that are necessary. Electric hot air blower is used to dry the sample after each step. Cotton and marbles reagent is used for etching process. And finally, the specimen is our stainless steel sample is used to conduct the experiment. So now when I click on the description, I have two terms here appearing. That is austenitic stainless steel and austenite. Austenitic stainless steel, as I told earlier, is a type of stainless steel. Out of the 4 types, it is one of them. And it has an FCC crystal structure, which has corrosion resistance because of the Cr2O3 formation, layer formation on the surface. This layer resists from further oxidation and thereby makes it corrosion free. There's nickel, manganese, and nitrogen also present in this austenitic stainless steel type, which helps in stabilizing the austenite phase. Moving on to the next part. Step 1 is to select a sample to analyze the microstructure. There are 2 samples given here, P3 austenitic stainless steel and P12 martensitic stainless steel. You might be wondering what P3 and P12 is here. P3 is basically the denomination. It is the grade that we're using of the austenitic stainless steel. There are almost 150 grades of austenitic stainless steel available, out of which 15 are prominently used for daily life applications. So the second step is to obtain a flat surface on the specimen. How can we do this? This is basically done using something called as a belt grinder. And the scratches that are prominently seen on the surface of the specimen are nullified in this process. Later, we move on to polishing papers of fineness 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, and 4/0. This is the first polishing paper. We rub the specimen against the polishing paper in one direction only. And later, when we are shifting from one polishing paper to the other one, we ensure that we turn the specimen by 90 degrees angle, so that the scratches from one paper is at right angles to the scratch from the next paper. This has all been provided in the note seen there. Step 4 is to show the polishing procedure on 4/0 abrasive paper. We have to make sure that we wash our hands and specimen once this part of the experiment is done. There are questions being displayed after each step in order to enhance the understanding of the student. Moving on to the next step, we are going to conduct fine polishing procedure in order to ensure that we obtain a mirror finish of the specimen. This has been done by first adding alumina solution onto the red velvet polish paper. This is the disc polishing unit, and we're going to hold the specimen onto the disc polisher and switch on the apparatus. Now, until we find something like a mirror finish, basically you should be able to see your own reflection on the surface of the sample. Till then, you're not supposed to end this procedure. At the end, we can see such a mirror polished surface, and we have to dry it with an electric hot air blower because the water samples, if present, might cause hindrance in our observations. Moving on to the next step, which is a very important step. This is etching. The process of etching occurs when an acid or base comes in contact with the specimen surface, and the different phases present react differently to the chemical etchant added. Here, the chemical etchant that we're using is the marbles reagent. This is a standard mixture containing 20 ml of HCl, 4 gram of CuSO4 added to 20 ml of water. It forms a green solution with a pungent odor. So we are taking a cotton swab, and this cotton swab with the marbles reagent is now used to apply it on the surface of the specimen. There are questions again from previous steps which are to be answered. So the student recalls what has been already done in each step. Now, moving on to the most important step, which is observing the microstructural features. This is our optical microscope having a lot of knobs and adjustments to be made. We can keep the specimen onto the platform and move it closer or farther from the lenses as per our convenience. And there are other adjustment knobs which helps us in focusing and defocusing, and also in brightness changes. As you can see here, we can change the magnification as here, from 50x to 100x to 500x by clicking on the arrow mark here. This is the microstructure of our stainless steel sample. Again, this is a question from the previous step. Moving on to the final step of the experiment, which is to cite the observations that we have made. I'll explain this using the 100x magnification. The sample code of the specimen that we took here was a P3 specimen having austenitic stainless steel in it. It has 25% chromium, 12% nickel, and 0.45% carbon. There are two phases that can be prominently observed here. That is, the darker phase, which look like dendrites, are the austenitic dendrites. And this austenitic structure is stabilized by the presence of nickel here. 12% nickel helps in stabilizing this phase. And the M23C6 phases, that is the eutectic carbide phases, are observed here due to the presence of chromium and carbon. This helps in enhancing the strength of the specimen. Thank you so much. This is the conclusion of the first experiment. I will now pass the presentation on to my friend Arjun to continue the next experiment.
Thank you, Itisha. Good evening to everyone in this webinar. Thank you for your time and joining us today. I'm Arjun Krishna, a third year BTech Metallurgical and Materials Engineering student from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, Surathkal. I'm going to be talking about the second experiment of our project, Virtual Labs Physical Metallurgy, titled Comparison Between Mild Steel and Grey Cast Iron. So let me begin by saying why this experiment is really important. Mild steel and grey cast iron are used in a lot of common engineering applications. So mild steel is used in applications such as nails, is used as a structural steel. So basically all the houses, buildings are made of mild steel, has some amount of mild steel in it. And then cars use mild steel, and then grey cast iron is a type of cast iron, and cast iron, some of the applications are gears, brakes, and the sizzler plate, you get sizzlers in, even that is made of cast iron. So you can see how many wide range of application these materials has. And these materials' property changes with the microstructure, and that is why it is essential to understand the microstructural features and analyze it. This brings me to the theory part. So in the theory part, you can read about an introduction about mild steel and cast iron, some applications of mild steel and images of mild steel and applications of cast iron. Itisha has already explained about the pre-test, post-test, and the procedure part. So I'll be explaining about the simulation of this experiment. The objective of this experiment, comparison between mild steel and grey cast iron, is to compare the microstructure of mild steel and grey cast iron. The apparatus used is exactly similar to the last experiment, except the etchant used. The apparatuses are metallurgical microscope, polishing machine, weld grinder, abrasive paper, electric hot air blower, cotton, etchant, and the specimen. You can click on the description box to read about the important terminologies related to the experiment. Alloy. Alloy is a metal made by combining two or more metallic elements to improve their properties such as strength, resistance, or corrosion, and other properties. Magnification on a microscope. So we take a sample and observe it under a microscope in this experiment. And the magnification is measured by multiples such as 50x, 100x, 500x, etc., indicating that the object is enlarged to 500 times as big, 100 times as big, or 500 times as big, respectively. So the first step in this experiment is to obtain the samples. We are considering mild steel and gray cast iron. Mild steel is a type of low carbon steel with 0.05 to 0.25% of carbon. Due to the very less percentage of carbon and more amount of iron, it is very ductile in nature, and it is used in applications such as wire, nails, cars, etc. Gray cast iron is a type of cast iron. It is gray in color due to the presence of graphite. It consists of 1.5 to 4.3% carbon, and it is used in applications such as pump house and valve bodies. Both these are type of iron carbon alloys. The procedure is pretty similar, almost similar till the end. In the first step, we do belt grinding. In belt grinding, we obtain a flat surface and remove indentations, tool marks, and corroded surfaces so that we obtain a clear image in the final from the microscope. Next process is the polishing. In this, there are two stages: polishing using polished paper. So we have 1/0 paper, 2/0 paper, 3/0, and 4/0. When we go from one paper to the next, we make sure it's rotated by 90 degrees to ensure that the scratches from the previous paper is removed by the current paper. And by the time we reach the final paper, almost a mirror image is observed. The second stage of polishing is polishing using the disc polishing unit. This is to ensure that we get a mirror finished surface. So an abrasive alumina is added, and then we on the machine to get the clear structure. To get the mirror finished surface. After this, we clean the surface of the mirror finished surface with water, and then we dry it. We clean it with water to remove all the abrasive present and the micro particles present. Then we dry it to ensure that no water marks are remaining. With this, once we obtain a mirror finished surface, we use the etchant. In this case, it's nitrile. Nitrile is basically an oxidized